Because a female intern drank too much during a company team building event, Marcus took her home while I was away on a business trip. He had Luna wear my lingerie, and in one night, they used up all the condoms in the house. After my phone received a security camera alert, I directly sent the recording to the company-wide chat. Mr. Marcus is so frugal, he can't even afford an hourly motel room. Marcus was deep in his revelry, thinking it was a private message, and didn't even pause his actions when he replied. You're just a means to an end I married to appease my family. Do you really think you're Mrs. Marcus? If you're smart, go buy me some condoms right now. The chat group fell silent, everyone secretly watching our confrontation. I scoffed, since you treat me as a means to an end, I'll show you what happens when you anger a means to an end. I immediately withdrew all resources from the family and terminated all partnerships with them. 5 minutes later, Marcus's furious call came through. Grace, what is the meaning of this? I was just impulsive after drinking. Do you have to make such a scene? And what's the deal with you sending the video to the company group? Luna is a young woman, how will she ever show her face in the office again? He, who was always so dignified and composed, was now angrily roaring and enumerating my faults, all for an intern, without mentioning at all the hurt his infidelity caused me. Even through the screen, I could almost feel his spit hitting my face. I replied calmly, you have 5 minutes to get that woman out of my house. And that outfit, she can keep it. I find it dirty. 5 minutes later, Marcus sent me a video. The water-stained sheets had been changed, the bedroom was spotless and tidy, and both the lingerie and Luna were gone from the family residence. Satisfied, I informed the family, business as usual. Then, I sent him another video. The family's profit in all contracts would be reduced by another 10%. Marcus, this is just a lesson. If you really push me too far, do you think you'll still be sitting comfortably in your current position? Still not feeling appeased, I found a few hunky fitness models, took some intimate selfies, and sent them to him. If you think drunken flings are nothing, then I don't mind starting a fresh start in my love life. Typing showed on the chat box for a long time, but ultimately, no message popped up. I knew he was suppressing his anger, but I was no longer willing to cater to his emotions. Back then, Marcus was a well-known playboy, a regular at bars, and his ex-girlfriends could collectively circle Metro City twice. But ever since the family announced our engagement, he cut off contact with all other women and knelt outside my house for 6 months, enduring wind and sun, claiming he hadn't known what true love was until he met me. Only by combining that with what he said in the chat group did I realize that the family wouldn't let his disreputable ex-girlfriends in, and he only married me to appease his family. For 2 years after our marriage, he did indeed keep to himself, no longer womanizing, going between the company and home daily, either accompanying me or working overtime. I thought he had truly settled down, but it turned out Marcus was cheating with someone close to home, moving his flirting grounds from bars and nightclubs to the company. His past promises and vows now seemed like utter nonsense. This halt to our partnership and resource withdrawal was just to teach him a lesson. The next day, I returned from my business trip, wanting nothing more than to go home and catch up on sleep, but I received a call from the company manager. An order needed Marcus's signature, but he had left early that morning with Luna. I had no choice but to turn back to the company. After I signed, Marcus still hadn't returned. I pulled out my phone to call him, but a payment notification popped up on the screen. Your black card completed. A payment at Loro at 9:30 a.m., amount, 3,282,600 renminbi. My brows furrowed. This store only sells high-end jewelry for women. Using my card to buy jewelry for another woman? Interesting. Leaving the company, I took a cab directly to the brand store. Through the display window at the entrance, I saw Luna excitedly putting on a necklace, then cheerfully kissing Marcus on the cheek while linked arms with him. Seeing her surprised expression, Marcus affectionately tapped her nose. Marcus was always particularly serious about work, never absent without reason, and only took 1 day off each year for my birthday. But now he was neglecting company affairs just to take an intern shopping. I walked into the store with a grim expression. Seeing me, Luna immediately let go of Marcus and smiled obsequiously, shrugging, Ms. Grace, what brings you here? I cast a disdainful glance at her tacky demeanor. Do I need to report my whereabouts to you? Instead, I should ask you, can an intern just skip work whenever she pleases? Luna dared not speak, guiltily looking at Marcus. He composed himself. I brought her here. She's new to the company and still adjusting, so I brought her out to clear her head. Then he patted Luna, telling her not to worry and to return to the company first. Luna was about to leave when I sharply called out to her, that necklace is mine. Take it off. Wearing someone else's lingerie is one thing, but do you like secondhand necklaces too? Are you addicted to freebies? She froze, then hung her head in embarrassment, her face flushing crimson. I pointed to the necklace on her neck and looked at Marcus. An intern is worth such an expensive gift, Marcus? Did you not hear what I said yesterday? Marcus looked annoyed. Grace, that's enough. You completely humiliated Luna at the company yesterday. Can't I even compensate her? I couldn't help but laugh. Compensate? So, Marcus's only trick is to use his wife's card to make other women happy. Does she deserve any place worth over 3 million? A flicker of confusion crossed his eyes. After seeing the card in his hand, he realized he had grabbed the wrong one. Publicly embarrassed, he immediately flared up in anger, the veins on his hands nearly bulging. Grace, if you're upset, come at me. Don't bully a young woman. Besides, if you hadn't completely disgraced Luna, would I be like this? It's just a broken necklace, I'll pay you double, alright? I folded my arms and sneered, Marcus, do you think it's just about money? This is a brand the company specifically supplies to high-end clients. What caliber is an intern like her, wearing the same jewelry as our major clients? What will our clients think? I looked down at Luna, who was silently bowing her head. Some people just don't know their place. They think they can sleep their way to the top with a CEO. Humph, a low-class woman will never become a lady of status. Marcus's face contorted, and he angrily threw the black card at me. Grace, are you done or not? Even if Luna made a mistake, she's a young woman, not as scheming as you make her out to be. These past few months, she's been hospitalized with a stomach bleed from drinking for company orders. It's only natural for me, as her superior, to reward her. You don't need to be so nosy. Marcus was like an enraged rooster, stubbornly refusing to back down in front of me. Of course, he was Luna's hero now. Why would he ruin his image by being a henpecked husband? I scoffed, bent down, picked up the card, and patted his face with it. Marcus, don't forget whose status got you that black card. Don't try to put on an act with me, and don't forget my warning to you. Ignoring his ashen face, I glanced at Luna, who looked like she wanted to bury her head in the ground. Since Luna is as capable as Mr. Marcus says, then the company's orders will be up to you. Marcus, utterly enraged, quickly pulled Luna away. Watching their retreating figures, I immediately called the purchasing department. Change the brand for our clients' custom jewelry. I find the current one inauspicious. No sooner had I hung up than my phone received a message from a partner. Ms. Grace, this is not a sign of good faith. Not only did you not come at noon, but you also had Mr. Marcus bring along an inexperienced young woman. Are you disrespecting me, Mr. William? I smiled and replied, my husband's new mistress. Mr. William, send every sleazy old man who takes advantage and drinks too much to deal with her. I'll add another 5% to your profit next time. Seeing the OK emoji in reply, I leisurely found a spa and began getting a massage. Just as I was about to drift off to sleep, Marcus's phone calls started bombarding me. As soon as I answered, his piercing roar erupted, forcing me to lower the volume. Grace, are you deliberately targeting Luna? Mr. William is refusing to sign, demanding Luna mouthfeed drinks to a dozen men present. It's bad enough they touched her all over, but now they want to take her to a room, claiming her orders were all slept for. They also called me out for living off a wealthy woman, saying I can't even manage to be a kept man properly, and that I should just go be a gigolo. You must be behind this, Grace. I never thought you'd stoop so low. I comfortably turned over. They're just talking nonsense. How can you take it seriously? Or perhaps they hit the nail on the head? His breathing grew ragged with anger. What nonsense are you talking about? If it weren't for you, this order wouldn't have fallen through. Luna's eyes are all swollen from crying. Are you happy now? My lips curved into a smile. I'm just making you realize your place. Without me, you're nothing. Marcus was too furious to speak and roughly hung up the phone. I opened the video Mr. Williams sent, watched the entire thing with satisfaction, and then forwarded it to the company-wide chat. Intern's performance is unsatisfactory, and she was involved in trading sexual favors for business during negotiations, violating company policy. She is hereby terminated immediately. HR received the instruction and immediately removed Luna from the HR system. I thought this lesson would make Marcus behave, but unexpectedly, he was far worse than I imagined. Within minutes, HR timidly called me. Ms. Grace, bad news. Luna's made a big move. Made a big move? Had a baby? Promoted to VP. What? I exclaimed, startled, sitting up on the massage bed. Who allowed that? Mr. Marcus did. I unconsciously gripped my phone. I had just announced Luna's termination in the company-wide chat, and he immediately promoted her to VP. He was openly declaring war on me. Minutes later, Marcus indeed published Luna's promotion statement on the company's official website, and even assigned his personal bodyguard to drive Luna to and from work. In his latest social media post, she was wearing custom jewelry and a custom gown, having opened my cherished bottle of wine, celebrating triumphantly with Marcus. Throughout the company, rumors spread that Marcus was going to kick me out and elevate Luna to my position. I clenched my fists. Since was determined to push her, he shouldn't blame me for not giving him face. Half an hour after Marcus issued the statement, I immediately convened the board of directors and revoked Marcus's power over personnel appointments and dismissals. Then I restructured company departments, completely sidelining Luna. So she wants to be a VP? She can be a figurehead to her heart's content. All the company's difficult clients and hard-to-close orders were handed over to Luna. I wanted to see if this nominal VP title could make clients show any respect. After doing all that, I was as exhausted as if I'd fought a war. I returned home and fell into a deep sleep. Tonight was Robert's 60th birthday celebration. Usually, I would bring Marcus home with me to celebrate with him. But this year, I didn't want to bring him. Oh. On the way to the family home, just as I finished picking out a gift, I received a call from the butler. Mr. Marcus and Ms. Luna have arrived. Robert asked me why you haven't come yet. My hand, holding the gift box, stiffened for a moment, and fury immediately surged within me. That vile pair. Humiliating me at the company wasn't enough, they even caused a scene in front of Robert. I motioned to the driver, urging him to get back to the family home as quickly as possible. As soon as I entered, I saw Luna leaning closely against Marcus, sitting in my usual seat. This wretch's desire to usurp her position was blatantly obvious. Robert wasn't aware of what had happened at the company these past few days and still thought Luna was my good friend, even cheerfully smiling at her. My face instantly fell. I walked straight behind Luna. Get out. Who are you to attend my family's dinner, let alone sit in my seat? Her face grew awkward, and she looked to Marcus for help. Marcus suppressed his displeasure and glanced at me. Grace, Luna was just being kind, helping celebrate Robert's birthday. How could you say that? He exhaled roughly in anger, but this was at the family home, at Robert's birthday celebration. As a junior, he couldn't openly quarrel with me for Luna's sake. He could only suppress his emotions, pull out a chair from the periphery, and have Luna move to a different spot. Humph, no need. She was suspiciously cordial, definitely up to no good. I couldn't be bothered to respond to him. I told a servant to replace the chair. I found the one she had sat on to be dirty. Today, dignitaries from all walks of life were present, and I didn't want to make a scene too embarrassing. So I planned to settle accounts with them after the birthday celebration ended. Midway through, when I went to the restroom, I overheard Luna grumbling indignantly into her phone. Grace, what is she pretending for? She just relies on having a good father. If I had her family back grew. I wouldn't be any worse than her. Look at her arrogant demeanor, her nose practically in the air. Humph, today I'll have to teach her a lesson. I immediately had a bad feeling. I rushed out of the restroom, but Luna was nowhere in sight. Returning to the banquet, I saw her obediently pouring tea into the cup in front of Robert. Once the cup was full, she subtly dropped an inconspicuous white pill into the tea, while everyone was greeting each other. My heart sank, and I quickly stepped forward to stop her. But before I could open my mouth, I saw Robert pick up the teacup and drink it down in one gulp, even complimenting Luna beside him on her thoughtfulness. Dad, don't drink that. There's something wrong with the tea. I rushed through the crowd, shouting a halt. The living room instantly fell silent, and all eyes turned to me. But it was too late. Robert had just put down the cup when his face contorted, and he clutched his chest, collapsing to the floor. The guests present were terrified, and some timid ladies even screamed. I panicked, hurriedly helping Robert sit up, but his body was limp, his throat red and swollen, his face flushed, and he was on the verge of suffocating. Marcus! Call an ambulance! I frantically wiped tears from my face, subconsciously shouting Marcus's name in my panic. Then I looked at Luna, who still hadn't put down the teapot, and gritted my teeth. You wretch! What poison did you put in Robert's cup? If anything happens to Robert, I swear I won't let you off. Seeing me curse at Luna, Marcus put down the phone he had just pulled out and shielded her behind him. Grace, what nonsense are you talking? Luna just poured Robert a glass of water because he was thirsty. She had good intentions. How can you slander her like this? Besides, Robert was just fine a moment ago. How is it that he collapsed as soon as you arrived? Who knows if this isn't just Robert putting on an act with you, bullying Luna in front of so many people. He family are going too far. Apologize to Luna immediately and clear her name, or you can forget about going to the hospital. This was absolutely absurd. I was almost driven mad with rage. Robert's pulse was already very weak, and his face was turning blue. Every second delayed was another layer of danger. I suppressed my anger and frantically pulled out my phone to dial 911 myself. The surrounding guests also murmured, criticizing Marcus. How can you be so heartless, son-in-law? Your father-in-law is in this state, and you're not helping him? Exactly. With such a big incident, he's still siding with that woman and scolding his own wife. He's truly prioritizing outsiders over family. The man is dying. Can't whatever issue you have be discussed later? Get him to the hospital first. Facing the public criticism, Marcus's face grew uglier, yet he still maintained a knowing expression. Can't you all see? Robert is just putting on an act for her. He's always been robust. How could he faint just from drinking a cup of water? He's clearly faking it. Luna also defended herself tearfully. Ms. Grace, I know you hate me, but you can't demean your own father like this just to frame me. If something happened to him in the hospital after you left today, I wouldn't be able to explain myself. Exactly, Marcus echoed. Grace, tell Robert to stop putting on an act. If he keeps it up, he'll be exposed. My emotions reached their breaking point. I was practically consumed by rage. With all my strength, I slapped Marcus across the face, sending him stumbling back a couple of steps. Marcus, you beast. If I hadn't seen her poison him with my own eyes, you too would have killed Robert. Robert's face is turning purple. Are you blind? Seeing my hysteria, Luna showed not a hint of remorse. Instead, she looked smug. Marcus, thoroughly berated by me, suddenly became enraged. Fine, Grace, you're still talking tough. Enough. My eyes blazed with fury, and I angrily called my bodyguard to pull him away. The ambulance arrived in time, and I quickly helped Robert into the vehicle. Marcus, we're getting a divorce. If anything happens to Robert, I'll make sure that vile pair pays. Hearing my words, Marcus looked stunned, but Luna revealed a triumphant smile. I had no time to continue entangled with them and followed the ambulance to the hospital. Upon examination, Robert had laryngeal edema due to an allergic reaction. Thankfully, his trachea was promptly cut open, preventing him from suffocating. Once the allergic symptoms subsided, the surgical incision could be sutured. I signed the surgical consent form and called the butler to retrieve the security camera footage from before Robert collapsed. In the video, Luna's movements were almost imperceptible, and she deliberately used her hand to block it. The inconspicuous pill was virtually invisible on the camera without close inspection, but's pained and distorted expression still deeply pierced my heart, and the anger within me refused to subside. I immediately ordered the family to sever all business ties with the family, withdraw all investments and resources, and never cooperate again. At the same time, the family reduced its profits by 5% to seize market share and narrow Vance's survival space in the business world. Vance's orders were cancelled, and they were experiencing cash flow problems, but the assistant couldn't reach Marcus. Because he was busy spending nights with Luna, he hadn't been back to the company for days. Luna's social media posts from these past few days directly referred to Marcus as Marcus. The photos showed her either flaunting the mansion Marcus bought her or vacationing with him in the Maldives. They even wore couples rings, as if she had already become the rightful Mrs. Marcus. I watched coldly, a wave of mockery in my heart. She thought she was climbing the social ladder, oblivious to the fact that Marcus owed everything he had to me. Without me, he was nothing. Marcus's birthday was in 2 days. This would be a good opportunity to inform Thomas and Eleanor that I was divorcing Marcus. I had my lawyer draft the divorce papers and, 2 days later, went to the family home. Thomas and Eleanor had already heard that Marcus brought Luna to cause a scene at the family home and even caused Robert to be hospitalized. As soon as they saw me, they eagerly and guiltily grasped my hand. Daughter-in-law, Marcus is ignorant. Don't hold it against him. When he comes back today, I'll make sure he apologizes properly to you and Robert. I politely and distantly withdrew my hand, looking at the two elders with a fake smile. Uncle and Aunt, thank you for the tonics you sent to the hospital these past 2 days. However, it seems Mrs. Marcus has been replaced. Seeing me suddenly change my address, Thomas and Eleanor's faces paled, and they hastily explained, Grace, what kind of joke is this? You are the only Mrs. Marcus. There's no one else. Don't worry, the family only recognizes you as our daughter-in-law. Thomas and I will not let any other woman into the family home. Eleanor emphasized the words Thomas and I, as if that would somehow preserve the family's affection. They were old hands in the business world, well aware that the family's current success was inseparable from my and the family's support. At such a critical juncture, how could they dare to disrespect me? But then they were thoroughly humiliated. Marcus's SUV with driver had just pulled up to the entrance, and before he even got out, a splash of bright red was visible through the car window on the seat. Thomas quickly exchanged a glance, and the butler immediately stepped forward, holding Luna's car door. Today is Mr. Marcus's birthday. Uninvited guests don't need to attend. Please leave. No sooner had he spoken than Marcus's face changed. What the hell? You dare block someone I brought? Do you have a death wish? He shoved the butler aside, opened the car door, and led Luna out. Seeing the matching couple's rings on their hands, Thomas and Eleanor's faces were as grim as if they'd swallowed a fly, but seemed completely oblivious to the tense atmosphere, instead immediately spotting me behind them. I knew it. So you're behind this. Framing at the family home last time was bad enough, but now you're deliberately trying to drive her away? Look closely, this is the family home, not the family home. Luna is just here to celebrate my birthday. I'd like to see who dares to make her leave. At his words, my face remained calm, but Thomas, disappointed, heavily thumped his cane on the ground. Luna looked wronged. I don't know why Miss Grace always has such hostility towards me. If she doesn't welcome me, then I'll just leave. She turned and took a few steps, but kept glancing back. Sure enough, on the fifth glance, Marcus stopped her. Thomas's beard bristled with anger. Butler, get this woman out immediately. I reached out and stopped him. No need. I just came to inform you all of something anyway. It's getting late, and I should be going. I took out the prepared divorce papers and placed them on the table. Marcus, didn't you want her to move in? Sign it, I'll grant you your wish. Eleanor was instantly alarmed, snatching the divorce papers. Grace, you can't joke about something like this. I glanced at Luna, who was standing nearby, and sneered. She's right here in front of you. Do you still think I'm joking? Marcus, you have 2 days to sign. Otherwise, don't blame me for taking this to court. Marcus, who had previously felt everything was under control, couldn't help but panic when he saw the divorce papers. He looked incredulous. Grace, you're divorcing me just because I brought Luna home to celebrate my birthday? I cast a cold side glance. Marcus, you're quite good at playing dumb. Have you forgotten everything that happened before because of your addled brain? I've given you chances, but unfortunately, you're incorrigible. Don't blame me for cutting ties completely. With that, I turned and walked away in my heels. Eleanor anxiously tried to follow me, but I simply closed the car door and ignored her. Thomas erupted in fury, grabbing his cane and striking Marcus hard. You scoundrel! Get that woman out of the family home right now. Do you even know what state the company is in these days? All you do is mess around outside. If you divorce Grace, the family will truly be ruined. Go. If you don't bring Grace back, I'd rather not have you as a son. The situation devolved into chaos. Eleanor beat her chest in despair. Thomas was beside himself with rage, yet Marcus clung to Luna, refusing to let go. I pretended not to see them, and only felt a sense of relief as the car gradually drove out of the family gates. Back at the hospital, Robert had woken up, but his body was much weaker compared to his previous robustness. I adjusted his foredrip and told him about my decision to divorce Marcus. He couldn't speak, merely sighed, his rough hand trembling as it clasped my arm, as if to say he would support me no matter what I did. Over the years, Robert had seen all my efforts for the family. If hadn't truly broken my heart, I wouldn't have been so resolute in cutting ties completely. I thought Marcus was so enamored with Luna that he would eagerly sign the papers and regain his freedom, but I never imagined Marcus would be even more shameless than I thought. That afternoon, I received a document, a new set of divorce papers drafted by Marcus. He sent a message, you can divorce me, but you'll leave with nothing. If you don't agree, I can forgive your mistakes and still consider you my wife. I was appalled by his shamelessness. He thought he could use money to force my hand, that I would give up on the divorce, but my legal team isn't to be trifled with. If he didn't want an amicable split, then he could wait for a court summons. I immediately notified my lawyer to file a divorce lawsuit. Marcus wasn't idle either. As Sterling family withdrew its resources, Vance quickly began experiencing operational issues. First, orders couldn't be secured, and large quantities of goods piled up in the warehouse, forcing them to be sold at a discount. Because they were operating at a loss, the company also started experiencing cash flow problems, making it impossible for new production lines to continue operating. Without products, they couldn't compete with other companies in the market. In just a few weeks, the family's assets had shrunk by more than half. I heard they couldn't even pay their employees, and 2/3 of the staff had jumped ship. Thomas and Eleanor, helpless, went to the hospital, fawning and smiling at Robert, hoping he could persuade me to give them a way out. Robert merely took a leisurely sip of water. "I'm old, I can't control her anymore. You should just go back." Seeing that the path through Robert was a dead end, they tried to approach me, but my assistant blocked them, and they couldn't even get a meeting. Marcus was frantic with worry. He actually agreed to Luna's proposal for cost-cutting and drastically laid off employees at the company. Long-standing employees who hadn't left yet were expelled from the company without even receiving severance pay. Not only that, Marcus also cancelled employee benefits, even rationing toilet paper in the restrooms. Luna was initially full of confidence, claiming she had saved Marcus a substantial amount of money. But within a few days, Marcus's employees, seeing the dire situation, all fled, leaving no one behind. The industry heard about Vance's bizarre and extreme toilet paper rationing policy, and no new employees were willing to join. Vance, once holding a dominant position in the industry, blatantly went bankrupt just like that. On the day Vance went into liquidation, Thomas and Eleanor watched their life's work go up in flames. They collapsed from shock and were rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, only recovering after 3 critical condition alerts were issued. Marcus also realized that Luna was nowhere near as capable as he had imagined, falling drastically short compared to me previously. On the day the divorce lawsuit opened, Marcus, weeping, blocked me at the courthouse entrance. "Grace, I've lost everything. How can you bear to leave me too?" I raised an eyebrow at him and smiled. "You haven't lost everything, you still have that idiot of a VP Luna. If it weren't for her, the family wouldn't have collapsed so quickly." His face paled, and he tried to grab my hand, but I dodged sideways and entered the courtroom without looking back. During the trial, Marcus claimed that our marital feelings hadn't broken down and adamantly refused to divorce. He even meticulously described his feelings for me in front of the judge, recounting every detail from how many roses he bought when he confessed his love to me, to our intimate life several times a month after marriage. I knew he wanted me to soften. But my feelings for him had long been eroded by his repeated betrayals. Now, only disgust remained. I submitted several pieces of evidence of his marital infidelity, as well as the security camera footage of him bringing his mistress and causing Robert to be hospitalized. Ultimately, the judge granted the divorce. However, it still let him off easy, as he received a portion of our marital assets. This amount, neither too much nor too little, was enough to cover Thomas and Eleanor's surgeries and subsequent expenses in the hospital, but not enough for Marcus to return to his former opulent lifestyle. Unable to accept it for a moment, he knelt at the courthouse entrance, wailing, clinging to my leg. "Grace, how can you be so cruel, disregarding 5 years of our marriage?" I scoffed. "What marriage? We're strangers now. Stop pulling at me, or I'll call the police and have you arrested." He reluctantly let go, watching me get into the latest Maybach, while he could only take the bus home. Back home, I packed up all of Marcus's belongings and mailed them to him, postage due. The house was my premarital assets. He had no right to divide it, nor to reside in it now. After and Eleanor were discharged from the hospital, they learned that their mansion had been foreclosed on. Now they each had to live in a rented 2-bedroom apartment. They pounded their chests in despair, loudly cursing Luna as a bad luck charm, saying it was all because of her that a perfectly good home had been ruined. They demanded Marcus immediately break up with Luna, but Marcus adamantly refused. Then, one morning, he woke up to an empty pillow beside him. Luna had already run off with all his money. He couldn't believe that the once sweet and docile Luna would betray him at such a time, but all his calls went unanswered, and she had even blocked his contact information. Only then did he realize that Luna had always loved his money. Now that he was down and out, he had no value to her. After much painful reflection, Marcus called the police, claiming Luna had stolen his property and demanding the police help find her and return all his money. When the police found Luna, she was in a 5-star hotel, with a corpulent, heavy-set wealthy man in the bed. The money stolen from Marcus had long been converted into the latest dresses and bags she was wearing, along with all the jewelry she wore to keep up appearances. Marcus's eyes reddened with rage. He rushed forward and slapped Luna repeatedly, then frantically tore the clothes off her. "You despicable woman, this is my parents' retirement money. How could you take my money to go dating a rich man for money?" Seeing the police there, Luna showed no weakness. What's your money? This is your ex-wife's money. Do you still think you're that high and mighty, Mr. Marcus? Bah. If I hadn't thought you were rich and easy to fool back then, do you think I would have taken an interest in you? Now you're just a pauper, and you expect me to follow you? Dream on. Get out of here, don't scare Mr. Johnson. The corpulent man on the bed struggled to prop himself up, looking at the scene in astonishment. Officer, what's going on here? The police officer showed his badge. What is your relationship with Ms. Luna? She is suspected of theft and illegal appropriation of funds. Please come with us. All three were taken back to the police station. Because the amount Luna stole met the sentencing criteria, she was facing jail time. Hearing she would go to jail, Luna finally started to get scared. She cried and knelt on the ground, begging Marcus for forgiveness, saying she could repay him. Mr. Johnson has a lot of money, he can help me pay it back. Marcus, I'm still young, I don't want to go to jail, please let me go. After saying that, she crawled on her knees to Mr. Johnson's feet, begging him to help her, saying she would do anything. Mr. Johnson looked at her with disgust. What a joke. I was just messing around with you. You actually think I'd pay up? Treating me like a sucker. Get out of here, trash like you lines up for free. Mr. Johnson kicked her away. Marcus was also utterly disgusted by her and didn't want to go near her again. I rushed to the police station and handed over the security camera footage of Luna poisoning Robert, requesting a thorough investigation. Luna's face instantly went pale when she saw the footage. Ms. Luna, are you going to confess yourself, or should we conduct our own thorough investigation? Realizing she couldn't escape, Luna confessed to her crimes. She had always coveted the position of Mrs. Marcus, but couldn't compete with me, so she set her sights on Robert. She naively thought that if anything happened to Robert, the family would collapse, and I would lose the family background to rely on, thus losing my power and influence. At that point, she believed she could make Marcus dump me and take my place. But one from her background couldn't fathom that the family no longer relied solely on Robert. It was already being supported by our younger generation. As long as I didn't fall, the family wouldn't fall. Her plans were foiled eventually. After the trial, Luna was convicted on multiple counts and sentenced to 7 years. Only then did Marcus realize that he had wrongly accused me and nearly killed Robert. He waited outside my company, saying he wanted to apologize to me in person. But without my permission, he couldn't even step foot inside the company. Marcus didn't give up. He still waited outside the company every day, even if it was just to catch a glimpse of Grace from afar. After a month of this stalemate, Grace finally relented, allowing him to come inside to talk. Grace was taken aback when she saw him. Grace knew Luna had spent all his money, but she hadn't expected him to be so utterly destitute. The once dashing Marcus now looked like a beggar. His hair, usually perfectly styled, was now a tangled mess, like a pile of straw. And his clothes were wrinkled and even torn. When he saw Grace, a spark ignited in his lifeless eyes. Grace, you finally agreed to see me. You still have feelings for me, don't you? What happened before, I was wrong. But we loved each other so much, how can you just let go? Now that Luna is incarcerated, there's no one to stand in our way. Grace, please, just one more chance? Grace couldn't help but let out a short laugh. Marcus, she said, it wasn't Luna who stood in our way, it was your restless heart. Look at yourself, she scoffed. What right do you have to make me come back to you? I have money and beauty, and plenty of attractive younger men vying for my attention. But you, Marcus? You're not good enough for me anymore. I accept your apology, but that's all. From now on, we go our separate ways, completely unrelated. With that, Grace ignored his wounded gaze and had her assistant escort him out. Later, Thomas and Elia Nor came to the company looking for Grace several more times, but her assistant turned them away each time. Gradually, they stopped coming altogether. 6 months later, Grace opened a new branch office, and her career reached new heights. Numerous high-quality men pursued her, and her friends all said Grace was more captivating than before the divorce. Grace reveled in the flowers and gifts, in no rush to enter another marriage. After all she'd been through, Grace clearly realized that a woman truly fears no one only when she stands on her own. Grace poured all her energy into her work, and her efforts quickly paid off. Her branch office continued to expand, becoming a dominant force in the industry. Now, Grace was financially free and emotionally independent, unburdened, with nothing to worry about but enjoying life. After was discharged from the hospital, Grace hired him the best nurse, and now his health had largely recovered to its previous state, his complexion much rosier. Later, Grace heard that Marcus had developed a gambling addiction, owed millions to loan sharks, had his legs broken by debt collectors, and would spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Grace leisurely took a sip of coffee. Humph, karma, she scoffed. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share with friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.